Captain Danny Morrison gripped the control stick of his mining shuttle as sweat dripped down his face. The massive asteroid tumbled through space directly toward the blue and green planet below. He had maybe 15 minutes before impact would kill billions of Xylari people. His communicator crackled with desperate voices from the surface. The Xylari had tried everything. Their most advanced weapons had failed. Their energy shields could not stop something this large. Their evacuation ships could not save even a fraction of their population. They were out of options and out of time. Danny was not supposed to be here. He was just a cargo pilot delivering mining equipment to a human outpost 3 systems away. But he had picked up the distress signal and changed course. Now he was the only ship in range with any chance of helping. The problem was simple but deadly. The asteroid was surrounded by some kind of electromagnetic field that disrupted all Xylari technology. Their precision tools and weapons simply shut down when they got close. The Xylari had asked if Earth forces could help, but the nearest military vessels were days away. Danny looked at the ancient plasma drill mounted on his shuttle. It was old human technology, built 40 years ago before Earth had fancy quantum systems. It was crude, simple, and most importantly, it worked without complex electronics. He flew closer to the asteroid, feeling his hands shake. This was insane. He was a cargo pilot, not a hero. But those voices on the radio, begging for help, crying for their children, he could not just fly away. The drill roared to life as Danny positioned his shuttle against the asteroid's surface. The plan was desperate. He needed to drill deep and plant the explosive charges he carried for mining operations. If he could break the asteroid into smaller pieces, the Xylari could handle those with their atmospheric defenses. The drill bit into ancient rock as Danny fought to keep his shuttle steady. Chunks of debris bounced off his hull. Alarms screamed warnings about radiation and stress fractures. He ignored them all and kept drilling. 10 minutes left. The drill punched through another layer of rock. Danny could see the planet getting larger in his window. He planted the first charge and moved to a new position. His muscles ached from fighting the controls. His shuttle was not designed for this kind of work. 5 minutes left. 3 charges planted. Danny positioned the last one and set the timer. Then he fired his thrusters and pulled away as fast as his old shuttle could manage. The explosions bloomed in silence across the asteroid's surface. For a terrible moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then cracks spread like lightning across the rock. The asteroid broke apart into dozens of smaller pieces, spreading out as they fell toward the planet. Danny held his breath as he watched the Xylari defense systems come alive. Blue energy beams lanced up from the surface, vaporizing the smaller chunks one by one. It took 3 minutes of constant firing, but every piece was destroyed before reaching the atmosphere. The communicator erupted with cheering voices. Danny slumped back in his seat, suddenly exhausted. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely hold the control stick. A formal Xylari voice came through the speaker. "Human vessel, this is High Council Prime Zareth. You have saved our entire civilization. We are forever in your debt. Please proceed to landing coordinates we are transmitting. We wish to honor you properly." Danny just wanted to go home and sleep for a week. But he could not refuse after what had just happened. He followed the coordinates down to the planet's surface. The landing pad was surrounded by thousands of Xylari. They were tall and elegant, with silver skin that seemed to shimmer in their sun. As Danny stepped out of his shuttle, the entire crowd dropped into a deep bow. He felt his face turn red. "Please, I just did what anyone would do." Prime Zareth stepped forward, flanked by other council members in flowing robes. "Captain Morrison, you have performed the greatest service in our recorded history. Our oldest laws require that we grant you our civilization's highest honor." Danny nodded, expecting some kind of medal or ceremonial weapon. Maybe a fancy title he could mention at parties. Zareth continued. "According to sacred tradition dating back 10,000 years, the savior of our world is granted the companionship of excellence. You will be paired with the 3 most exceptional women of our society, chosen for their beauty, accomplishment, and honor. They will accompany you as symbols of our eternal gratitude." Danny's brain seemed to stop working. "I'm sorry, what?" Three Zilari women stepped forward from the crowd. They were stunning, dressed in elaborate ceremonial garments that sparkled with embedded crystals. Each moved with perfect grace and confidence. Zareth gestured to them proudly. "This is Kalara, champion of our military academy and master strategist. This is Shireen, keeper of our oldest histories and professor of cultural studies. And this is Vayara, our most celebrated artist whose works are displayed in every major city. They are the finest examples of Zilari excellence, and now they are yours." Danny felt panic rising in his chest. "That's very kind, but I can't accept people as a reward. That's not how humans do things." A confused murmur ran through the crowd. Zareth's expression showed concern. "Captain Morrison, this is our most sacred tradition. To refuse would suggest you find our people unworthy of gratitude. Surely you do not mean such an insult." The three women were watching him with unreadable expressions. The entire crowd had gone silent. Danny realized with growing horror that he had stumbled into a massive cultural misunderstanding with potentially serious diplomatic consequences. He was just a cargo pilot. He had no training for this, but somehow he needed to figure out how to navigate this situation without starting an interstellar incident. "Perhaps we could discuss the exact nature of this arrangement?" Danny said carefully, his mind racing for a solution. Danny sat in the guest quarters the Zilari had provided, staring at the three women who now apparently belonged to him. The whole situation felt wrong in ways he could not quite explain to his hosts. Kalara stood by the window with perfect military posture, her silver skin catching the light. Shireen studied Danny with curious eyes, probably analyzing him like one of her historical subjects. Vayara seemed more relaxed, humming softly to herself as she examined the human furniture with artistic interest. Danny's communicator buzzed. He answered to find Commander Lisa Grant from Earth Central laughing so hard she could barely speak. "Morrison, the reports coming through are amazing! You saved an entire planet and got 3 gorgeous alien women as a prize! This is the best story I have heard all year!" "Commander, this is not funny. I need diplomatic guidance here. I cannot just accept people like they are trophies." Lisa wiped her eyes, still grinning. "Danny, you are overthinking this. Just be polite. Follow their customs for a few days, then come home. Do not insult them by making it weird." "But what am I supposed to do with them?" "I don't know. Talk about the weather? You will figure it out." "Grant out." The screen went dark. Danny groaned and turned back to the 3 Zilari women. "Look, I appreciate the honor, but I need to understand what this actually means. What exactly are you supposed to do?" Kalara answered in perfect English with only a slight musical accent. "We accompany you. We represent the gratitude of our people through our presence. We bring honor to you and receive honor ourselves through this service." "But what does accompany mean? Like you just follow me around?" Shireen stepped forward, her expression thoughtful. "Captain Morrison, you seem distressed by this arrangement. In our research of human culture, we learned that humans have very different bonding customs. Perhaps you believe this is about physical pairing." Danny felt his face heat up. "Well, when someone says I have been given beautiful women, yeah, that is kind of what it sounds like." All 3 women made a sound that might have been laughter. Vayara spoke for the first time, her voice like music. "Oh, how fascinating. No, Captain, Zilari pair bonding is completely separate from honor companionship. What you call romance happens privately between individuals who choose each other. This is a public professional role." Kalara nodded. "Being selected as an honor companion is like being chosen for your highest military position. It is a career achievement. We were selected from thousands of candidates because our accomplishments best represent Zilari excellence." Danny felt a weight lift from his shoulders. "So this is more like being assigned assistants or attachés, a diplomatic thing." "Exactly," Shireen said, looking relieved. "We will attend official functions with you, represent the bond between our peoples, and serve as cultural advisors. We were actually quite nervous about this assignment. Humans have a reputation for being unpredictable." "You were nervous?" I thought I had accidentally become some kind of alien collector. Vayara laughed, a sound like wind chimes. And we thought humans might be difficult to work with because your emotions are so strong. But you seem kind. That is good. Over the next few days, Danny began to relax around his three companions. They moved to the diplomatic station where Danny was temporarily assigned, while Earth decided what to do with their unexpected hero. The women had quarters near his, and they quickly established a routine. Kalara joined Danny for morning exercise, where she shared Xylari combat techniques that focused on using an opponent's energy against them. She was amazed by human endurance and adaptability. Your species may not be the strongest or fastest, but you never give up. That is a powerful weapon. Shireen spent afternoons teaching Danny about the dozens of alien species on the station. She had studied them all and knew which gestures were polite, which topics were forbidden, and which species could become valuable allies. Danny had never been good at politics, but Shireen made it understandable. Vayara was the most surprising. She painted and sculpted with materials that seemed to glow from within. When she learned Danny played guitar, she begged him to teach her. In exchange, she showed him Xylari music that used harmonic frequencies humans could barely hear. "Your music is so emotional," Vayara said one evening as Danny played an old Earth song. "Ours is mathematical, perfect, but yours has something wild in it. I want to learn that wildness." Word spread quickly through the station about the human with 3 Xylari honor companions. Other species whispered and stared. Some were envious. Others were confused. The Krillnax ambassador told everyone that humans must be incredibly powerful to deserve such a reward. The Pelthian trade minister started rumors that Danny commanded a secret Earth fleet. None of it was true, but Danny learned to ignore the gossip. What mattered was that he was actually becoming friends with Kalara, Shireen, and Vayara. They were not prizes or rewards. They were people with their own skills, dreams, and personalities. 2 weeks after arriving at the station, a Korthax warship docked. The Korthax were known bullies, large and aggressive species that intimidated smaller civilizations into unfair trade deals. Their delegation strutted through the station like they owned it. Danny was in the common area with his 3 companions when the Korthax ambassador, a massive creature named Grathok, approached the Xylari trade representative. "Your people will agree to our mining terms," Grathok growled, looming over the smaller Xylari. "We have the military strength to take what we want. You should be grateful we offer payment at all." The Xylari representative trembled but tried to stand firm. "Our council will consider your proposal through proper channels." Grathok laughed, a sound like grinding rocks. "Your council will agree, or we will show you what happens to planets that refuse Korthak's generosity." Danny felt anger rise in his chest, but Kalara touched his arm gently. She leaned close and whispered, "Watch and learn." Kalara stepped forward with the smooth confidence of a trained warrior. Her voice was calm, but carried clearly across the common area. "Ambassador Grathok, the Xylari representative has given you an answer. Threatening violence against station guests violates the Galactic Commerce Treaty, Section 12, Paragraph 4. Grathok turned his massive head toward her, his eyes narrowing. "A honor companion speaks out of turn. Know your place, Decoration." Danny started to move, but Shireen was already gliding forward to stand beside Kalara. "Ambassador, I am Shireen, Keeper of Histories. I have studied Korthak's culture extensively. In your own ancient traditions, threatening the weak was considered cowardly. Your greatest heroes won glory through fair challenges, not intimidation." Grathok's face darkened with anger, but Danny could see confusion there too. Shireen had struck a nerve by invoking Korthak's honor codes. Vayara joined her companions, completing the line. "And I have seen Korthak's art from your golden age. It celebrated strength used in service of protection, not domination. When did your people lose that beauty?" Danny understood what they were doing. They were not confronting Grathok with force, but with knowledge and culture. They were making him question himself in front of everyone watching. He stepped up beside the three women, keeping his voice level. "Ambassador, the Xylari saved my life when my ship had engine trouble near their space. They asked for nothing in return, just helped because it was right. That is real strength. Maybe your people could remember what that feels like." Grathok looked at the four of them standing together, human and Xylari united. Other species in the common area had stopped to watch. The Korthax delegation shifted uncomfortably, aware that this was not going as planned. "This conversation is not over," Grathok finally growled, but he turned and stomped away, his delegation following. The Xylari trade representative rushed over, his skin flickering with relieved colors. "Thank you, all of you. The Korthax have been pressuring us for months." Kalara bowed slightly. "We simply reminded him that the galaxy is watching. Bullies hate witnesses." As they walked back to their quarters, Danny felt a new respect for his three companions. "That was amazing. You took him apart without throwing a single punch." "Violence should be the last option, not the first," Kalara said. "My military training taught me that the best victories are the ones where nobody has to die." Shireen smiled. "And knowing your enemy's culture gives you weapons sharper than any blade. The Korthax used to be noble warriors. Reminding Grathok of that legacy made him uncertain." "I just spoke from my heart," Vayara added. "Their old art really was beautiful. It is sad they forgot who they used to be." Over the following weeks, Danny and his three companions became an effective team. When a trade dispute arose between the Pelthian merchants and the Andorian mining collective, Shireen helped Danny understand both sides well enough to suggest a compromise that satisfied everyone. When tensions flared between two minor species over a docking priority, Kalara worked with Danny to establish a fair rotation system based on cargo urgency rather than political power. When the station administrator wanted to redesign the common areas but could not get the different species to agree, Vayara created art that incorporated elements from a dozen cultures, giving everyone something to appreciate. Danny found himself learning more each day. Kalara taught him to read body language across different species, to spot when someone was preparing for conflict or genuinely seeking peace. She showed him combat techniques, but more importantly, she taught him when not to fight. "Humans have interesting instincts," she told him one morning during training. "You want to protect others, even strangers. Most species only protect their own kind. That makes you dangerous in a good way." Shireen opened Danny's eyes to the complex web of alliances and rivalries that shaped galactic politics. She explained why the Valorians never spoke directly to the Kresh, why the Telkari always brought gifts to negotiations, why the Zentari considered eye contact aggressive. "You are a natural diplomat, Danny," she said one afternoon. "You listen before you speak. You ask questions instead of making assumptions. These are rare qualities, even among species that have been in the galactic community for centuries." Vayara taught Danny to see beauty in alien forms and customs. She showed him how Krilnak's architecture used sacred geometry, how Andorian music mimicked their planet's magnetic fields, how even the aggressive Korthax had once created stunning metalwork. "Every species has something beautiful to offer," she explained, while showing Danny her latest painting. "Humans have this amazing ability to find common ground with anyone. You look for similarities instead of differences. That is your art." One evening, the four of them sat in Danny's quarters sharing a meal. The Xylari had learned to enjoy some human foods, and Danny had developed a taste for Xylari grain dishes flavored with crystalline herbs. "I have to admit something," Danny said between bites. "When I first got this assignment, I was terrified. I thought it was going to be awkward and uncomfortable forever." Kalara made the Xylari gesture for amusement, a ripple of color across her skin. "We were terrified too. We heard humans were loud and emotional and unpredictable. None of us wanted to fail at such an important role." "And now?" Danny asked. Shireen answered, "Now we understand that emotional and passionate are not weaknesses. You care about people you have never met. You helped our world because it was right, not because you expected reward. That is remarkable. You have taught us so much, Vayara added, not just about human culture, but about approaching the galaxy with an open heart. I thought I understood art, but you showed me that the greatest art is building bridges between different peoples. Danny felt warmth spread through his chest. These three were not his reward or his trophies. They were his friends, his teachers, and his partners in ways he never expected. "So what do we do next?" he asked. Kalara smiled. "Whatever comes, together." The message arrived early one morning, delivered by official Xylari courier. Danny was having breakfast with Kalara, Shireen, and Vayara when the courier entered, his expression grave. "Honor companions Kalara, Shireen, and Vayara. You are summoned before the Traditionalist Council. There are concerns about your conduct." The three women exchanged worried glances. Kalara stood first, her military training keeping her composed. "We will attend immediately." After the courier left, Danny saw the fear in their eyes. "What is this about? You three have been perfect representatives." Shireen's voice was tight with worry. "The Traditionalist Council believes in following the old ways exactly as they were written. They do not like change or new interpretations." "But what did you do wrong?" Vayara looked down at her hands. "We became your friends, Danny. We were supposed to remain formal and distant, like living symbols. Instead, we laugh with you, learn from you, work beside you as equals. To the traditionalists, that is corruption of sacred custom." Danny felt anger building in his chest. "That is ridiculous. You three have done more for Xylari reputation in the past month than any formal ceremony could have." "It does not matter," Kalara said quietly. "If the council rules against us, we will be removed from our positions and replaced. In Xylari society, being removed from an honor companionship is seen as public failure. Our careers, our reputations, everything we have worked for will be destroyed." The hearing was held in a grand chamber aboard the Xylari diplomatic vessel. Danny insisted on attending, despite being told it was an internal matter. Kalara, Shireen, and Vayara stood before a panel of 7 elderly Xylari, dressed in traditional robes that looked centuries old. The lead traditionalist, an ancient female named Matriarch Valora, spoke in a voice that creaked with age. These three were granted the sacred honor of companionship to the human savior. They were chosen because they represent the peak of Xylari achievement in beauty, skill, and wisdom. Yet reports indicate they have abandoned proper conduct. Another council member, Patriarch Zaron, continued, "They train with the human like common soldiers. They eat casual meals together. They share jokes and personal stories. This is not how honor companions should behave. They are meant to be living tributes, perfect and untouchable, not friends." Danny raised his hand. "May I speak?" Valora frowned. "This does not concern you, human. We are judging our own people." "With respect, Matriarch, it concerns me completely. I am the one they were assigned to. I should have a say in whether they have fulfilled their duties." The council members whispered among themselves. Finally, Valora nodded. "Very well. Speak." Danny took a breath, organizing his thoughts. "When I first arrived on your world, I did not understand your customs. I was confused and uncomfortable with the whole arrangement. But over these past months, Kalara, Shireen, and Vayara have taught me more about your civilization than any formal presentation could have." Zaron interrupted. "But they were not assigned to teach you. They were assigned to honor you through their presence." "And they have," Danny said firmly, "but not in the way you think. You chose them because they are the best examples of what Xylari can be. Kalara is a brilliant strategist, Shireen is a walking library of knowledge, and Vayara sees beauty where others see only differences. By working with me as equals, they showed me that Xylari value excellence in action, not just in appearance." Valora leaned forward. "You misunderstand the tradition, human. They are meant to be symbols, representations of our gratitude. By becoming informal with you, they have reduced themselves from sacred gifts to common companions. Danny felt his frustration rising. That is exactly the problem. You are treating them like objects, like trophies to put on a shelf and admire. But they are people, and people have value because of what they do, not just what they represent. The council chamber fell silent. Several council members looked shocked at his directness. Danny continued, his voice growing stronger. I have worked with dozens of species over the past month. Do you know what they all say about the Xylari now? They say your people must be truly advanced because you sent me companions who are brilliant and capable, not just beautiful decorations. Kalara helped me stop a conflict between two armed species. Shireen negotiated a trade agreement that benefited 5 different civilizations. Vayara created art that brought the entire station together. Shireen stepped forward, her voice clear despite her obvious fear. Matriarch Valora, may I speak about our history? Valora nodded, curiosity in her ancient eyes. The tradition of honor companionship began 10,000 years ago, after the First War between the northern and southern continents. The Southern King sent his 3 most accomplished daughters to live with the Northern King as a gesture of peace and unity. But here is what most people forget. Those 3 daughters became the Northern King's most trusted advisors. They helped him understand Southern culture, prevented future conflicts, and eventually created the unified Xylari civilization we have today. They were not passive symbols. They were active bridges between 2 peoples. Kalara added, the tradition was never about being untouchable and perfect. It was about building real connections between different groups. We have honored that original purpose by becoming genuine partners with Captain Morrison. Vayara's voice was soft but passionate. And we have grown so much through this experience. I have learned to see beauty in human spontaneity and emotion. My art has improved because Danny taught me that perfection without feeling is empty. Is that not what honor companions should do? Grow and help others grow? Patriarch Zaron shook his head. But if we allow this informal behavior, the tradition loses its sacred nature. You should be elevated above the human, not equal to him. Danny stepped forward again. Why? What makes being distant better than being real? My people have a saying, you can judge a civilization by how it treats those it considers lesser. But maybe the real test is whether you can recognize equals when you see them. Matriarch Valora stood slowly, her ancient joints moving with careful dignity. The entire chamber waited in silence for her judgment. Danny held his breath, watching the 3 women who had become so important to him. Captain Morrison, Valora said, her voice softer now, you speak with passion about our people and our traditions. That is unusual for an outsider. They are not outsiders to me anymore, Danny replied. Kalara, Shireen, and Vayara have become my friends. They have made me a better person and a better representative of humanity. If that is failure, then I do not understand success. Valora turned to the other council members. I wish to hear from others who have held the position of honor companion. Bring them forward. Danny had not known there were others in the chamber, but now nearly 20 Xylari stepped forward from the observing crowd. They were of different ages, some young and some old. All had once served as honor companions to various dignitaries over the centuries. An elderly male spoke first, his voice trembling. I was honor companion to the Valorian Prime Minister 40 years ago. I stood beside him at ceremonies, always silent, always still. I was told to be perfect and untouchable. It was the loneliest time of my life. I represented our people, but I could not connect with them. When my service ended, I felt relief, not pride. A younger female continued. I served the Andorian Trade King 15 years ago. The expectations were so rigid that I was afraid to speak, afraid to move naturally, afraid to be myself. The king barely knew me as a person. I was just a beautiful symbol standing in his presence. I have never told anyone how much I hated it. One by one, former honor companions shared their stories. Nearly all spoke of isolation, pressure, and the pain of being treated as objects rather than people. Many said they had left their positions feeling empty and wondering if they had truly honored their civilization at all. Matriarch Valora listened to each one, her expression growing more troubled. When the last had spoken, she turned back to Kalara, Shireen, and Vyara. "Tell me truthfully, how did you feel about your assignment before you met Captain Morrison?" Kalara answered first. "I was honored to be chosen, but terrified of failing. I worried constantly about standing correctly, speaking properly, representing our military tradition without flaw. The pressure was immense." Shireen nodded. "I researched every detail of human culture, trying to predict what would be expected of me. I barely slept the first week. I wanted to be perfect, but I did not know what perfect meant." Vyara's voice was almost a whisper. "I was afraid the human would see me as a prize, something he owned. I did not want to be art that someone possessed. I wanted to create art, to be a person." "And now?" Valora asked. "Now I wake up excited for each day," Kalara said, her skin shimmering with emotion. "I have helped prevent conflicts, trained with a warrior from another species, learned new strategies I could never have imagined. I feel like I am truly serving my people." Shireen smiled. "I have taught and learned in equal measure. Captain Morrison asks questions that make me think about our culture in new ways. I have discovered things about our own history by explaining it to him. This is what scholarship should be." Vyara's eyes brightened. "And I have created the best work of my life because I was free to be myself, to make mistakes, to grow. Danny does not want me to be perfect. He wants me to be real. That has made all the difference." Patriarch Zaron stood, his expression conflicted. "But if we change this tradition, what does it mean for our sacred customs? Where do we draw the line?" An old voice spoke from the crowd. Danny turned to see Prime Zareth, who had first granted him the honor companions, stepping forward. "Perhaps the line is drawn at respect," Zareth said. "Our traditions should honor both those who serve and those who are served. If a custom causes pain and isolation, is it truly sacred? Or have we simply been afraid to admit we were wrong?" Valora closed her eyes for a long moment. When she opened them, Danny saw something like relief there. "I have spent 2 centuries defending our traditions exactly as they were written," she said. "But I have watched honor companions suffer in silence, afraid to admit the truth. I have seen the position become a burden rather than an honor. Perhaps it is time to remember why the tradition began in the first place." She turned to address the full council. "The first honor companions were sent to build bridges between enemies, to create understanding where there was only suspicion. They succeeded not by being perfect statues, but by being genuine people who could connect 2 different worlds. We have lost that truth over the centuries." Patriarch Zaron slowly nodded. "You are right, Matriarch. We turned living people into symbols and called it honor. That was our failure, not theirs." Valora raised her hand in the formal gesture of judgment. "It is the decision of this council that Kalara, Shireen, and Vyara have not corrupted the tradition of honor companionship. Instead, they have restored it to its original purpose. They are cleared of all charges." The 3 women seemed to collapse with relief. Danny felt his own tension drain away. But Valora was not finished. "Furthermore, we are creating a new designation. The Cultural Integration Partnership will replace the old Honor Companion system. Those who serve in this role will be encouraged to build genuine relationships, to teach and learn, to serve as real bridges between civilizations. Kalara, Shireen, and Vyara will be the first members." Applause rippled through the chamber. The former honor companions were cheering the loudest, many with tears streaming down their faces. Zareth approached Danny and the 3 women. "You have changed our civilization, Captain Morrison, not through force or demands, but through friendship and respect. That is the most powerful kind of change." Danny shook his head. "I just treated them like people. That should not be revolutionary." "But it is," Kalara said softly, "and we are grateful." 3 months later, Danny stood on the observation deck of the diplomatic station with his 3 partners. They had just completed a successful mission helping the Pelthians and Kresh establish their first formal diplomatic relations. "We have another request," Shireen said, holding up a data pad. "The Telkari want a cultural integration team to help them understand the Valorians. They specifically asked for us." Vyara laughed. "We are becoming popular. Who would have thought?" Kalara looked at Danny with a smile. "Are you ready for the next adventure?" Danny thought about how much his life had changed. He had come expecting a simple medal and gone home. Instead, he had found a purpose he never knew he needed. He had friends who challenged him, taught him, and made him better. "Always," he said, "as long as we are together." The 4 of them stood looking out at the stars, ready for whatever came next. They were not a human and his reward. They were partners, friends, and pioneers of a new way for different species to truly understand each other. And that was worth more than any medal could ever be.